Hello, welcome back to my network. We're at PDAC and I'm with Tim Smith, the CEO of US GoldMining. Tim, good to see you.
Thanks for having me on.
More than welcome. So we haven't had a catch up in, 6-7 months or whatever it may be. But for those less familiar, why don't you just do a brief intro and then we can dive in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So Tim Smith, I'm the CEO of US GoldMining Inc. We're a brand new company that was spun out of GoldMining Inc. about a year ago. We listed on the Nasdaq. We completed an initial public offering in April of last year. We raised $20 million to basically explore the Whistler project in Alaska, which is a large gold copper porphyry system located 100 miles west of Anchorage.
Good. Okay, so new company, obviously you're spun out of GoldMining. We just spoke to Alistair, so hopefully if people have seen that video, they'll have a bit of an idea as to who you are and what you're up to. But just talk us through, obviously, when the spin out happened, where was Whistler as a project at that moment in time? What did you know about the company? How was you able to raise 20 million off the back of this project?
Sure. So Whistler had been purchased by GoldMining in 2015, right at the bottom of the cycle. And so we waited for about 5 years before we did anything with that project. And approaching 2021, 2022, we could see the price of gold and copper was starting to increase. And I think one of the key catalysts of this project is that it does have a sizable component of copper, which of course is a critical mineral in many jurisdictions, very important for the energy transition that the world needs to go through. So the significance of that copper was, in addition to the rising price of gold, and of course the price of copper was really starting to put Whistler back on the map. We felt it was time to find a way to unlock the value, the intrinsic value in that asset. So the path that we chose was to put it into a separate vehicle, US GoldMining Inc., listed on the Nasdaq so that we could raise capital. We could hire a brand new management team, myself and a board, so that it had independent funding, independent governance, independent and devoted management to really drive this asset forward and give it the full attention that it needed in order to really unlock that value for shareholders.
Okay. And so tell me about Whistler. So was there any resource on it? What was the grade like? What's the depth like? Just tell me a little bit about the project.
Sure. Yeah. So it's been around for a little while. It was discovered in the late 80s by Caminco. Kennecott came along in the early 2000s and drilled it for 3 years until they optioned it out to another company called Geoinformatics, which merged and became Kiska. Kiska sold it to us in 2015. So over the course of those 4 companies exploring, there's been about 70,000 meters of drilling. So a very robust body of work has been completed, very good detailed work. We have that all described in our technical report, which is in 43-101 and SK 1300 format. We've updated that as of 2022 with an updated mineral resource estimate completed by an independent QP. The resource is at 3 million gold equivalent ounces in the indicated category, which of course is the higher confidence category. Another 6.4 million gold equivalent ounces in the inferred. So it's a sizable deposit. It really has size that puts it on the map for us and for the industry, in particular for majors and mid-tiers who might be interested in partnering with us at some point down the line in terms of having it in their development portfolio. So a big resource. Location-wise, great question. It's right at surface, and it's located 100 miles west of Anchorage. So this is a potentially open-pittable resource inventory. There's actually 3 separate deposits within that overall resource inventory. The Whistler deposit, which is the namesake of the overall project, of course, and that's about 2/3 of the overall resource inventory. And then Raintree, which is just a kilometer away, and then finally Island Mountain, which is another 20 kilometers further south. So right now we're focusing on the 2 close deposits that make up about 3/4 of the total resource inventory. That's Whistler and Raintree. As I mentioned, they come right to surface. There's a little bit of glacial cover over Raintree, but pretty much mineralization is right at surface. Some of our drilling in 2023 actually proved that Whistler comes right to surface. So very low strip ratio. We think, as I say, they're open-pittable, but we are keeping our minds open to mining methodology right now. Of course, we haven't done those studies yet. We're still at the exploration stage. We want to optimize the size and then look at mining opportunities and how we might mine open pit versus underground and schedule that out.
Okay, so You came to the market, you have 3 million indicated gold equivalent. What was the grade on that?
Okay, so it's about 0.7 average across the 3 and the 6.4 gold equivalent, grams per ton gold equivalent, yeah. The indicator is 0.79, and the inferred is about 0.65 grams per ton gold equivalent. So it's a bulk tonnage, lower grade style of mineralization. As I mentioned, it's a porphyry. It's actually a gold-rich porphyry, which is a little unusual. Most of the time you'll hear about copper porphyry. So there's copper in the system, but this is about 2/3 by value gold, a significant component of copper, and a little bit of silver.
Okay, so you've come to market last year, and you've had this exceptionally large resource. You've managed to raise 20 million off the back of it. What have you done with the 20 million since you've...
Great question. So we raised the 20 million. The use of proceeds was to fund 2 years worth of exploration. We've completed our first year of exploration last year, 2023. So we drilled off 4 holes for 2,200 meters total. 3 of those holes were into Whistler. 1 was further down in the Rainmaker area. The 3 holes at Whistler returned very encouraging results. In fact, one of those holes, hole 3, was one of the best drill intercepts of 2023. I should qualify that. We announced it in 2024, but the drilling, of course, was completed
then
in 2023. So that intercept was 547 meters at 1.06 grams per ton gold equivalent.
Wow. Okay.
Solid, consistent mineralization from 50 meters below surface to the end of the hole. Still mineralized at the end of the hole. The last 25 meters averaged 1 gram per ton gold equivalent. Unfortunately, the Alaska winter froze our water source. You need water for diamond drilling, core drilling, as you know. So we had to pack up at that point and move the drill down the hill to another target. But of course, we're interested this year in going back, sitting up over that hole, re-entering, and hopefully we can continue that hole to depth.
Okay, so over 500 meters at 1 gram equivalent is, I mean, that's a mine. What's the significance of this? Like, obviously, you've come to the market with a lower grade resource. This surely, obviously, it's hard to explain, but this is big news, right?
Absolutely. So look, we knew about this high grade core in our resource. We can see it in the block model. And if you run the numbers, you know, we talked about 3 million gold equivalent ounces in the indicated and another 6.4 of inferred. That's at a lower cutoff grade of $10 per ton NSR cutoff, which is equivalent to about a 0.3. But internally within that, if you look at our grade sensitivity tables in our 43-101, and you double that cutoff grade, $10 per ton, or around about a 0.6 grams per ton gold equivalent cutoff, you still have 2.2 million gold equivalent ounces at better than a gram, at 1.06 grams per ton gold in the indicated, and another 3.8 million ounces gold equivalent at 0.93 grams per ton gold equivalent. So this high-grade core is contiguous. It's not like a randomly distributed spot of dog. This is something that comes right to surface that we can see has the potential to expand or extend further to depth. So hole 3, 547 meters, we basically drilled from the southern margin, from the top of that, drilled down along the southern margin. We could see that geologically there is no reason why that high-grade core would not extend to depth. And we're in the process now of basically proving, A, the continuity of that. So that's really increasing our confidence in the grade connectivity, if you like. But that hole that ended a mineralization that we want to go back and deepen, hopefully this year when we go back to drilling in 2024, we can show that we can continue to extend that high-grade core right through the floor of the pit. And we if it's mineralized, we will just keep drilling. This could be a significant game changer for this deposit. You know, we're thinking of this as a surface open pit. This could go a lot deeper beneath that current.
I was just about to ask you how you're actually thinking about this, because it seems like there's 2 potential possibilities in my mind anyway. You've got this high grade core. You could do an open pit around that, and then obviously do an underground mine underneath it if you sort of prove that it continues at depth.
Potentially, yeah.
But then also you've got a lot of this lower grade disseminated around it by sound, because it's porphyry, right? So I'm assuming that's the way it's structured. So how do you go about this? Do you look at this as a higher grade still quite a large resource, but look at more of the core and look at doing a sort of get into production a bit quicker, or do you look at a huge 80,000 ton per day,
Both.
huge open pit?
Great question. And I think what we talk about is optionality.
Yeah.
We've got the optionality here. We can go for scale and extracting the maximum amount of gold. That does come, with bigger machinery, higher throughput. So that comes with higher CapEx and OpEx. But you extract more metal. Or you can scale down, smaller machinery, lower throughput, lower capital costs, lower operating cost, comes right surface. So maybe this is an open, starter open pit with stripping back over time. Maybe it's transitioning towards an underground if we can prove that mineralization extends. There's lots of options here. We're really not, stuck with a single option scenario, going into mining studies. So, and it's a great question also because it helps me then speak about the next steps for this project. We will continue to do some more drilling around the margins of the existing deposits this coming summer, 2024. And I think at the end of the year, we want to take stock of our results, potentially put those results into an updated geologic model and a resource model, and then potentially, start developing and mining scenarios. So do we go for scale or do we go for yield? Is there a curve? Is there a sweet spot somewhere on that curve that is the optimum for this particular mine? Ultimately, you want to be led by the geology, not pick a scenario and then try and get the rocks to fit that. So we're still at the point in time, if you like, where we're being guided by the rocks and we're following the mineralization to optimize that, to extend it, expand it, increase our confidence and knowledge of how to model it so we have a better interpolation and we can really get good confidence in the resource model before we commit to putting it into an economic mining scenario.
Okay, so obviously you're testing the boundaries at the moment. What else can we be expecting with it? What is the exploration model moving forward? I know you've just touched a little bit on that, but I wouldn't mind a bit more in depth on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've talked a lot about the existing deposits, but we see a true blue sky exploration potential on this property as well for finding more deposits. Bit of geologic jargon, but a porphyry cluster system is sometimes porphyries are single giant deposits. Sometimes they come up as separate smaller intrusions, and when I say smaller, they're still often 1 to 3 to 5 million ounces each. But we see a really exciting potential for the discovery of new porphyry systems. When we did our geophysical modeling, we could see that essentially we have a big magmatic system that is about 10 kilometers across diameter. In that, we've already discovered 2 porphyries that we've estimated resources on. That's Whistler and Raintree in the north. There's a second big magmatic system 20 kilometers away to the south, that Island Mountain. We've already got 1 deposit there. So over the course of the next couple of years, with the geophysical modeling that we've done, we're starting to pinpoint potential new porphyry systems. We've actually got at least 12 high priority targets already sitting in that Whistler Raintree area that we want to go explore this year. So this summer, in addition to the optimizing of the existing resource deposits, we want to go see if we can find some more. We want to drill some brand new targets is what I'm saying. And, again, they make a new discovery, that could be a game changer.
Yeah, true. But before we get ahead of ourselves on new discovery, I guess with and like you say, you haven't actually identified what way you're going to go in terms of huge bulk tonnage or you've got the optionality still, right?
That's right.
Either way, how tough is it or not so tough to permit a mine where you are in Alaska at the moment?
Great question.
Have you given this much thought yet?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we've already started working on the social license and the environmental baseline. The modern world tells you these days that you don't think about your permit when you've completed your feasibility study. You do it hand in glove along with your exploration these days. So we actually started environmental baseline work before we set foot on the property, before we started drilling. In fact, a whole year before we started drilling. We also started our stakeholder engagement, and we're continuing to ramp both the environmental baseline and the stakeholder engagement up. And we believe that we're in a good situation in Whistler because our property is located on state land. So as you know, in North America, there can be, in the United States, there can be a patchwork of state, federal, national parks, there can be native land, there can be other types of land, private land ownership. We just have one decision-making body, one regulator that we're dealing with, and that is the state.
Okay.
So the claims themselves are on state land, and this is also exciting. The state has undertaken a number of studies into economic development opportunities in what we call the West Susitna Mining District, which is where Whistler sits, just 100 miles from Anchorage. So it's a clear shot across the Matsu Valley, the Matanuska-Susitna River Valley. It's a broad alluvial plain, essentially. So you're not building roads or anything over mountain ranges, just straight across the valley. Whistler is just inside the mountain range, in great terrain, very low-lying topography. The state designed a road. They call it a roads to resources sort of a concept. Without any input from us, they designed a road right to our property. That really behooves us to do something with this asset, which is one of the key catalysts for really putting this company together and now looking at ways to unlock and advance the project. That road is called the proposed West Susitna Access Road. The state has already put the first portion of that road into the State Transportation Infrastructure Plan. And they announced last year in 2023 that they could potentially start building that road in 2025. Part of the funding, in fact, the majority of the funding for that first section will actually come from federal funds that have been previously unallocated. So beyond the Department of Transportation section of mine, that first 25 miles, we're then partnering with another state agency, ADA, which is an acronym for the Alaska Infrastructure Development Export Authority. They're essentially a state infrastructure bank that builds roads, railways, ports, and bridges on a potentially what might be a public-private partnership, sometimes called a P3, or a toll road partnership. There's already a great example of a toll road. The road to Teck Mining's Red Dog mine, which is in the far northwest of Alaska, was a toll road that has now been repaid to the state through the mining revenue from the Red Dog mine. So we're really excited to be in this jurisdiction. We're very close to the population, to the demographic, the working population around Alaska and south central Alaska, around Anchorage, I should say, in south central Alaska. 100 miles away across a nice flat alluvial plain to get to our mine, and the state has designed a road there. So we're super excited about partnering with those states agencies and working forwards, not just to, I guess, get our potential future mine to build social license, but also to build social license for that road. And one final piece on that road will connect Whistler with an existing port that has already been built by the local borough, the Matsu borough, Matanuska-Susitna borough. They built a port about 10, maybe 15 years ago. It's underutilized. They built it on the basis that if we build it, they will come. Economic development has been a little bit slow. So they're absolutely delighted. So we've got the state building a road to link the economic development opportunities with the export facility at the port being built by the state, and the local borough council is extremely excited about that as well. So I think we've got so many differentiators on this project compared to some other jurisdictions in North America or anywhere in the world that really, I think make Whistler stand out as an exciting opportunity.
I completely agree. And I guess the only thing I'm left to get my head around is, and you have touched on it a little bit, is really how you're progressing the project. And you're saying you're doing some more drilling in the summer, and you're funded for 2 years since IPO, so you've got another year of funding left, and you want to get to essentially some economics around this.
That's right.
Talk me through the next 12 months. How are you going to get to that point where you can actually put some economics around this and really show the world what you have in the ground?
Sure. So I think the key things in these exploration plays is you don't want to go too soon with the PEA.
Yep.
But you can't just drill and drill and drill forever. At some point you have to take a pause and understand what the scope is of the opportunity. So we think the timing at the end of this year will be about the right time after 2 years of, or 2 seasons of drilling. That will give us the opportunity to put some drill holes into the high priority targets that we see that we feel very excited about as geologists. We can then assess those results by the end of this year, heading into early 2025. I think, that is a good time for Whistler and Raintree to start thinking about putting a mine plan and an economic model together, looking at that optionality, bringing in the additional studies to really underpin the concept of building this mine. So that's everything from metallurgical through geotechnical, but also the environmental baseline, to show that we have a viable concept. And that concept would be presented in the form of a preliminary economic assessment, a PEA, which would then, assuming that's a positive NPV and an IRR, is an excellent decision point. It really underpins the thesis to then invest in feasibility, to go into feasibility study, which of course requires more drilling to get everything up to reserve status. So that's plan A. Plan B, if we make a discovery with that exploration I was talking about in the Whistler Raintree area, we might also choose to pause a little bit longer while we delineate that new discovery, and of course that would be a fantastic problem to have.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I think if you don't want to then rush, I guess, to a BA if you then have potentially another discovery that you could be putting into a much larger complex. Yeah. Really agree. Well, Tim, best of luck with all of it, and hopefully we're going to catch up when some more results come out.
Look forward to it. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Look forward to it. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Good. That was really good. Thank you.